Thank you very much, Dee, for watching this video. But before you skip forward 10 seconds, I just want you to know that you're going to be missing out a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, you're missing the main thing.
We do a weekly podcast, Kermode and Mayo's Take, from which these little tasters are taken, where we review all the week's releases.
Yes, plus also talk about the films that have been there for a while, which you might be going to see right now. We talk about those as well.
And Simon interviews the biggest names from the movies.
And there's a bunch of other stuff. For example, also Ridley Scott's winery. This has not been discussed, but we go there.
So join us by following our podcast wherever you get yours. There is a link below.
Just there. Yes.
Just there. Friendship. This is a black comedy about male friendship from writer-director Andrew DeYoung making his directorial debut, feature debut. So the title Friendship, that kind of evokes Happiness, the Todd Solondz film, which was very unhappy, or the Swedish director Lukas Moodysson's Together from 2000, Tillsammans, which was very, very lacking in togetherness. So this stars Tim Robinson, not to be confused with Tom Robinson, or indeed with Tim Robbins.
Yes,
okay, right. So Tim Robinson, comic actor, writer from the Saturday Night Live stable, starred in the sitcom Detroiters and the sketch comedy Netflix show I Think You Should Leave. I think the official title is I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Now, I haven't seen that. Child 2 has and is quite the fan. So in Friendship, he plays Craig Waterman, who is this marketing executive whose soul-destroying job, I think, is to find ways to make products more, quote, habit-forming. So, for instance, so what you mean addictive? He said, well, we prefer to use the term habit forming. Kate Mara is his wife, Tammy, who has recently recovered from cancer and who now wonders out loud in support groups whether she will ever orgasm again. She was helped through the darkest of times by a rekindled friendship with a former boyfriend, Devon, who is a fireman, whose company she finds comforting. Mm-hmm. So Craig and Tammy are selling their home, but then this new neighbor, Austin, played by Paul Rudd, moves in. And suddenly Craig sees this whole new vista of possible male friendship. Austin is a TV weatherman. He smokes. He has a beer during the week. He plays in a rock band. He picks and eats wild mushrooms. He takes Craig into his house and plays him music and then takes him on an impromptu adventure into the local sewer system, which gets them into City Hall, And Craig is just infatuated. He decides that all he wants to do is to be like Austin because he's never seen this kind of male friendship before. So he buys a drum kit. He starts pretending to like punk rock. He starts trying to fit in with Craig's own buddy group, who are a group of men so supportive that they spontaneously burst into song. Here's a clip.
Howdy. Howdy.
Honey, the new neighbor invited you over for a drink at 8 tonight. I said you'd go.
You don't know my schedule.
You sit there every night. Might be nice to have a pal, a bud.
Hey guys, this is my neighbor Craig. He's the best.
I was just spiraling. I see the way the guys look at her. I'm scared.
Sheila's lucky to have a dad like you.
Boy, you should know that I've got you on my mind.
So Craig is just slack-jawed, and he really wants to be part of this world, but clearly he's not. He's awkward and dorky and self-centered and difficult. And his character is somewhere between Adam Sandler's Barry in Punch Drunk Love, the guy who breaks glass doors because he feels so out of place at parties, and Robert De Niro's Rupert Pupkin in King of Comedy, the kind of guy who attaches himself to somebody because he's kind of impressed by them, but he's also an inch away from being a stalker. He is the kind of guy who complains all the time about people in conversations doing Marvel spoilers. He's the kind of person who can just stop a conversation as soon as anyone mentions a Marvel thing. Because, no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers. We'll come to this incidentally in the top 10. So as a result, he moves very quickly from being a new friend to being, cast out. And then having been cast out from this friendship group to effectively becoming a sort of Pupkin-esque stalker, and things start to fall apart. The film is a really, really deeply uneasy mixture of humor and toe-curling, wince-inducing, squirm-making embarrassment and shame. I can see already that this is not appealing to you.
The trailer made me feel as though I never wanted to go anywhere near it, and the way you're describing it,
well,
makes me think, not for me.
The thing is, I mean, I think you and I also have a sort of similar. I know. I mean, I love Punch Drunk Love, and I don't think you feel the same way about it. But there is just something about depictions of that awkwardness that I do find weirdly compelling. I mean, the thing about it is, you can see why Craig wants to be part of Austin's world, and you can see why being introduced to this and then cast out of it is the worst thing that could happen. That, you know, once he's what's that thing, you know, if I hadn't seen such riches, I could live with being poor. That's the line from Sit Down, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But of course, what happens is his sadness and his isolation, because of the kind of person he is immediately turns to anger and rejection and all these sort of broiling The thing is, he brings everything upon himself. Every single thing he does is his own fault and is largely to do with just being completely self-centered and unable to see beyond the end of his, of his own nose. And so watching it, I did think at times, there were times watching it, I was literally hiding my face behind my hands as if I was watching a horror movie. You know, people sometimes watch horror movies like that. Yeah. They kind of hide him because they don't want to jump. I was watching because the squirm-inducing embarrassment of it was so painful. There is this kind of slow car crash sense of impending disaster about it. As far as the performances are concerned, I think it's the best I've seen Paul Rudd, because he's doing this kind of, this guy who appears to have it all. He's in this rock band and he smokes and drinks, but also he's got his own problems, but they just, he's just sort of keeping them at bay. And then Tim Robinson is this sort of embodiment of this downtrodden, embittered schlub whose just emotions swing between envy, misery, grief, anger, resentment. And the writer-director said that he wrote the film very specifically for him. And I think there are very few people who could pull it off without it just being intolerable. But I think somehow what he does is, all the time that you're watching it, there's a part of you, or at least there's a part of me going, I know, I get it. I understand. I understand why you are so heartbroken about this. And so I said, the two specters that hang in the back of this for me are King of Comedy and Punch Drunk Love. I don't think it's on a par with those two films, because I think those two films are two of the greatest movies I've ever seen. But I think this is in the same neighborhood as them. And in fact, if you were on a street in which Punch Drunk Love and King of Comedy were two houses, this would be the film that moved in across the street and then tried to be your friend.
But would be excluded on the basis of being deeply annoying.
But it's yes, he is deeply annoying. But I think that the smart thing about the film is that you can't let him go, because there is a part of you that just goes, oh, yes. Anyway, an excruciating experience, but in a good way.